You ready for this? And we should be live.
Hello, and welcome to the weekly wrap with the USA Liberalists. I am Cody, and this is Jordan.
Woo.
As you can see, we have a new format. Thank you, Jordan.
Is it actually working? Can we verify that real quick?
How's it going, man?
It's going great. As soon as we make sure. Actually, you know what? I can check on YouTube real quick. We're just gonna. I know we're sort of. We watch a lot of Tim Pool. What do you want? All right. Yes, it is. It is working. Yes. Okay. Cool.
Woohoo!
All right. First topic of the day, because we're professional now, and we know what we're doing. So we've got stories this time. So we're going to talk about the Easter worshippers. They're not Christians anymore. New name. Hillary came up with it. It's really good. I like it a lot. I think that we should keep it. We are now Easter worshippers. So suspects on Easter Sunday bombings in Sri Lanka still at large, maybe carrying explosives. Jesus Christ, have they still not caught these guys? Oh man, when is this? Do you know when this story is from?
It was from Monday, I believe.
Oh fuck, yeah.
At least that's when I was looking at it.
No,
I don't know if it's been updated yet.
It was published on the 25th. So that was yesterday. Jesus, alright. So Sri Lanka's a little fucked up, huh?
Yeah, they have a lot of problems. They had 359 people killed, including at least 45 children at churches and luxury hotels by 9 suicide bombs. They've detained like 60 people in connection with the bombings. They've all the bombers have been linked to a group called the National Tawhid Jamaat. It's a local Islamist movement, but the Sri Lankan officials believe they have ties to ISIS. So,
well, yeah, it says. So Sri Lanka's leader said Thursday that suspects in Easter Sunday's bombing attack killed 30 foreigners. Churches and luxury hotels in the country were still at large, maybe carrying explosives. Not luxury hotels anymore, are they? They seem to be significantly more holy than they used to, and not for good reasons. Prime Minister, I shouldn't be joking about this, but Prime Minister Ranil, I'm not even going to try that, made the admission to the Associated Press. Look at it, what do you want from me? To the Associated Press, the Sri Lankan Security Services issued a public appeal for 3 women and 1 man suspected of involvement in the Islamic State group claimed attack. So we're thinking ISIS did this, or at least ISIS claims to have.
Yeah, ISIS is claiming that they were their fighters. It's like a...
Wouldn't this be like the deadliest attack they've ever pulled off?
Kind of. I think so. It's like one of the... I read somewhere that it was the second most deadly terrorist attack since 9/11.
Well, yeah, obviously 9/11. But
I don't know if that was ISIS who did that.
I mean, it was like a group that turned into ISIS, because that was Al Qaeda, I think, back in the day, right?
Yeah, Al Qaeda and the Taliban or whoever.
Wow, I feel uninformed for not remembering that. Okay, I might have to go refresh my memory on how all that went down. Police identified the suspects as Mohammed Shahid Abdul Haq. I'm trying.
Yeah.
Fatima Latifa. I really don't think that's how that's said. Abdul Qadir Fatima Kadia and Palestini Rajendran. I just butchered that last guy's name horribly. All right. What I mean, he's a bomber.
Not your first language.
Yeah, fuck this guy. He's a bomber, right? I'm okay with mispronouncing someone who's killing people. Who also had the alias Zara. All appear to be in their 20s. Okay. At least 58 people have been detained in connection with the bombings, among the world's worst terrorist attacks since 9/11. Yeah, I was about to say. Because this actually would rank up there with some of the worst terrorist attacks that have ever happened, right? I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
again, still not as bad as 9/11. Very few attacks have been, let's be real. At least since, the modern age. Unless
Well,
unless you count starvations, Russia. But anyway.
the thing about this is that it was like 9 different targets all more or less at the same time.
Yeah, that's why it was so deadly, because it was coordinated, right?
Yeah, it was super coordinated. They even had explosives at something that was considered like a safe house for the terrorists, which if you're a suicide bomber, why do you need a safe house? But anyway.
I mean, you've got to finish the bombing,
Maybe it
right?
was
58 people, though.
I guess.
Goddamn. This is organized. Investigators confirmed 9 suicide bombers took part in the assaults. By the way, I'm kind of echoing on your side. I don't know if you just want to turn me down in Discord or whatever, but they are linked to the National Tawhid Jamaat, a local Islamist movement, but Sri Lankan officials believe they have some links to ISIS. Okay.
Yeah,
so ISIS seems to be claiming credit for having like one guy in the group, but all right.
Well, yeah, the ISIS, of course, they want to claim credit because it gets them more.
It's a good recruiting tool. Yeah.
Terror.
Unfortunately, yeah. 2 of the suspected suicide bombers were the sons of a local spice tycoon. I didn't know that was still a thing, but okay, cool, good for him.
Well, yeah, the thing is that a lot of these suicide bombers aren't like, they don't fit the typical narrative of, super poor, hard up, young men who just have nothing to lose. These were all like upper middle class men with, young men and women with futures and educations. Like one guy was even educated in London.
Well, there's your problem right there.
Well, right, yeah.
No, they spent time. Yeah, like you were just saying. No, they spent time studying the United Kingdom, which warned its nationals against all but essential travel to Sri Lanka. Yeah, no kidding, right? Amid the ongoing security situation, the State Department's travel advisory urges Americans to exercise increased caution. Is that what we're calling this? Increased caution. Okay. Yes, I will definitely. I would definitely advise at least exercising increased caution with active suicide bombers running around the place. Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
Right. Well,
maybe a little tepid, but I guess they'd have to say something, right?
Well, the U.S. Ambassador, or the American ambassador there in Sri Lanka, he said that investigators believe that there were ongoing terrorist plots, so they're still looking for more things that might happen later.
With 9 different targets at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they've still got more planned.
Yeah, and then some officials were saying that this was in retaliation for Christchurch, but like a government minister and former army chief said that that this may have been planned for several years because it was so coordinated. They're having a hard time figuring out how such a small group could coordinate it without international effort or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through how that, because Christchurch was a month ago? I have a hard time
to put all this together in a month.
Hey man, ISIS has done some interesting stuff in the past as far as getting some stuff done. But yeah, a month? Like really? Because there's like transporting the bombs, selecting the targets, figuring out when they're going to go off. I mean, just the timing of it makes it suspicious that it's just a month afterwards. Because I mean, really, that's you're going to rush it that hard? Surely you'd want to wait for the ideal time. Maybe the ideal time just happened to be a few days ago, and it just sort of worked out that way. But it seems all really like maybe they sped up their timeline in response to Christchurch. Maybe, I don't know, but it seems a bit of a stretch to say that the entire thing happened because of Christchurch.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to blame this on Christchurch specifically. I mean, this was planned for a while. Like they had to know, like you said, they had to know like what targets. They also had to know when people would be there to maximize the effects.
Which they apparently did a pretty good job at.
I mean, it's pretty obvious Easter would be a good time to blow up a church because, if you're a terrorist, I guess, it's never a good time to blow up a church, kids.
Well, yes, but I mean, all I'm saying is like, yeah, Easter's an obvious time if you're looking for that, but you still have to sit down and make a decision, right? Someone still has to sit down and say, okay, we're going to have these amount of bombs going to these churches on Easter specifically, as opposed to, I don't know, waiting for Christmas or something like that, you know? There would still have to be a series of meetings. I don't think it was just like 48
right,
like jihadis got together and were like, hey, you want to go blow up some churches on Easter? Like, somehow I just don't think so.
Right. It wasn't like, hey, I got some explosives in my car. You want to go blow yourself up? Oh, yeah, that sounds great. You know, what do you want to do afterwards? Well, we'll figure that out later.
We'll see how many pieces you're in, then we'll see if we're going to Chili's or Denny's.
It says the stream health is red. Bad video settings. Please use keyframe frequency for 4 seconds or less.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it. Which will cause buffering.
Yeah, I don't think it's causing a problem with the stream right now, but...
Oh, this is the kind of thing, like, we both knew this was going to be a bit of an experiment anyway, so that's okay. I do want to see what the actual stream... I'm probably going to go back over the stream at the end, like maybe later tonight, and just go over it piece by piece and see what actually happened. If this stream goes totally smoothly, awesome. If not, just the way it goes, right?
Yeah, we're trying.
We are making a real attempt. Look at all this cool stuff we brought up. It's awesome. He's even like we got him ordered a new cable, so his internet's gonna be fucking sick after this stream. It's gonna be fucking amazing.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick. As you can see on our little overlay, there's some police tape. That's where we're gonna start. I'm gonna put like an avatar there for either me or him. Maybe replace one of the other images with another avatar. See if we can't. I'm still working on improvements, is what I'm saying. So this whole thing is definitely a work in progress.
It's all good, man. We'll be better at this, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, this is already a huge improvement, let's be honest.
Well, I mean, I think we're doing a lot better considering both of us work full-time and have, lives and everything, that this is sort of just like a hobby for us, and we're able to do the research and get these stories up and then actually sit down for 2 hours a week to do this. I think we're doing pretty good.
We're doing great. All right, but back to the Easter worshippers.
Yeah, so the deadliest explosion was at St. Sebastian's Church in Negombo, where more than 100 people were killed. I also read somewhere that 4 American kids... 4 Americans, 3 kids, aged 11 and 15, and then 1 adult who was attacks.
Yeah, there was at least 30 foreigners that were killed in the blast. Or blasts, plural. Oh, yeah, that was I forgot about this part. Sri Lanka's government has acknowledged that some intelligence units were aware of possible attacks weeks before the bombing Sunday, but that the information, which, if this was available weeks before the bombings, that kind of blows the whole Christchurch thing out of the water. But the information was not shared widely with other authorities, including the PM. The defense minister resigned. Yeah, that seems... Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Well, when I was reading it, it seemed like they had told them there's a terrorist attack that's going to happen soon.
Sure.
And then, like, the day before, they said, look, here are the names of the people who are going to commit a terrorist attack tomorrow. And then nobody did anything.
From what I
don't know if it was exactly like that, but it seemed like that's how it sounded when I read one of the stories.
I mean, nobody... I mean, even we had the same exact thing happen under Bush, right? He had the report that 9/11 was going to happen. He didn't take it seriously enough. 9/11 happened, and here we are, right?
Right.
It's just, you get reports all the time when you're in these positions. Sometimes you take them seriously, sometimes you don't. And they clearly didn't take this one very seriously. And it resulted in this, and I hope they learn from that. I seriously hope they learn from this.
Well, you wonder.
But yeah,
how many times do they get threats like this? I mean, threats like this are probably often, and a lot of them are probably, just fake.
Well, I mean, look at bomb threats in the United States. There's bomb threats daily in this country. Because most of it's just trying to shut an event down, or trying to scare someone, or trying to intimidate a political rival or something. There's bomb threats. Yeah, they're all the time.
If I were the parent of a kid, or
oh, I'd be fucking pissed.
Who called in a bomb threat? Oh man, I don't care how old they were. They'd be over my knee so fast.
Seriously. Or if I was any of the parents that was involved in this instance, that lost their kids in this, oh, you better believe my ass would be down at the nearest government anything, screaming my fucking head off.
Well, did you hear there was an update? So, yeah, like Hillary Clinton and Obama called these people Easter worshipers, not Christians. But then
don't forget Joe Biden.
I saw an update.
Sleepy Joe.
Yeah, Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy,
we'll talk about
Joe.
him later. They also said that, I don't know. I think it was either today or yesterday. I saw reports coming out where Christians were going around beating up Muslims.
Damn.
Yeah, and they were, at that point, they were Christian groups of Christians. At that point.
Oh yeah, when they're the fucking aggressors, now they're Christians.
Crusade time, I guess. So, yeah, Sri Lanka's got a lot of problems, and the whole thing with Hillary Clinton and people on the left and in media, though I repeat myself, calling them Easter worshipers is just part. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if you get this too, but I'm very sensitive to the specific words people use when describing things.
I'm not usually. Normally speaking, I try and give people a lot of room to, people describe things a lot of different ways. Sometimes they describe it badly. And sometimes they're not trying to be mean or offensive or anything like that. And that's something people should be cognizant of, and try to be understanding of. But when it comes to politicians especially with someone like Hillary Clinton, where for a goddamn fact that went through a fucking meeting machine before any tweet was made. Especially when it's coming out.
That was scripted.
Right, especially when other politicians are using the exact same language. There was workshopping and meetings and all kinds of stuff that happened beforehand that basically told them, this is how we need to refer to it. And
a memo went out.
I mean, seriously, yeah, that's the way team politics works, which is really unfortunate. But here we are, and what's the messaging here?
Well,
when the Christians are victims, we can't say Christians are being victimized by Muslims because we have a huge Muslim base.
Defeats the narrative,
right? When Christians are the aggressors, now they're Christians. Now they're Christians. Now we can accurately identify the actual group.
Yeah, with politics, it's definitely done on purpose, but
especially the career politicians, I give very little room.
Right. Even regular people, even if they're not doing it, they haven't consciously thought about doing it. It does speak to their unconscious thoughts or their method of thinking, too.
To an extent,
at least in my opinion, it's not. They're not doing things maliciously. I just don't think they've seriously considered the words that they're using much.
That seems more accurate to it, yeah.
And so they will say, well, all these Easter worshipers because they heard Hillary Clinton say it. or Barack Obama say it, and they're just like, well, that's just what people are saying. And
Have you ever
you see
heard
that
someone actually
sometimes.
use that term? Because this is the first time I've ever
No,
heard the term Easter worshiper, and I don't. It's one of those things that I think politicians do that everybody on the outside is looking in like, what East you mean Christians, and then just keep saying Christians because they're like that sounds fucking stupid.
well, like I said, I don't think people, at least most people, think about it too much. They just hear the phrase Easter worshipers, and so
They might.
it does distance the fact that Christians do get persecuted, do
Yes, it
get
does.
attacked. It does
From a
distance
rhetorical
the
standpoint, it
idea
absolutely
of
does.
absolutely. And so that's why the politicians did it, and then the people just say it, and so they don't link. They won't remember in the future if another attack like this happens on Christians. They won't think, oh yeah, like last year there was a big attack on some Christians. It's like, well, no, last year there was a big attack on Easter worshipers.
Right.
It
It's
won't
like the
link that
opposite.
thought in their brain. Like it does create neural pathways in your memory to certain words.
Well, it's sort of like the exact opposite of, not to bring up 9/11 too much here, but it brings up a sort of like a backwards relationship to what happened during 9/11, where the media just said Iraq and WMDs in the same sentence so many times that eventually, without them ever having to directly say it, everybody just assumed Iraq has WMDs, right?
Yeah.
It's like the exact opposite of that strategy, where they just
Yeah.
they refuse to say Christians in the context of being victims.
Yeah. And I do think it it's a stretch to say that it's like a form of brainwashing or something like that. It is a big stretch, but it does have an impact. I'm super sensitive to this sort of thing, to the words that you use, and that's probably due to my many and often ruinous attempts to become a writer.
Well, I honestly think the main thing is that they don't want this going around normie circles, because anyone that's plugged into politics is going to look at that statement and know exactly what they're actually saying. It's like, no, that's a Christian,
Right.
right? But when you're talking about a normie that's looking at this like Easter worship, what is that? Is it like a cult or something?
Well, right. They won't make the immediate link. And like I said, it won't form the memory of the attack
Right,
to Christians in the future.
because they've like sidestepped it a little bit. But enough on that, because there is still a little more information here. Let's see. We got police officials been warned of. Okay, yeah. Places of worship. Yeah, okay. So avoid places of worship this weekend. Very good advice. Security has been stepped up in the Sri Lankan capital, Colombo, and elsewhere across the island country, which is home to a complex web of multi-ethnic and multi-religious communities. About 70% of Sri Lankans are Buddhist. Well, at the very least, I don't think we have to worry about the Buddhists going after the Christians.
I don't know, man. There was a point in time where the Buddhists were pretty radical and were like burning down government buildings and stuff in China.
True, but the only group Buddhists ever seem to go after is Muslims. So I don't think we have to worry about them going after Easter worshippers at the very least. The Muslims there might need to be concerned. So, if you're over there and you're Muslim, keep safe. But regardless.
Maybe I'm a Buddhist now.
Jesus. For almost 3 decades, until 2009, the Tamil Tigers, separatist militia organization, waged guerrilla warfare against the Sri Lankan government forces. They were a majority Hindu group, but religion did not play a big role in their independence movement. The Tamils were among the first groups to use suicide bombers. Is that really relevant? Okay.
I guess so.
Whatever this guy's name is, told the AP...
They're practiced.
Yeah, whatever. Seriously, I don't know what this guy's name is. I can't... Wikremi Singh... Jesus, okay, I give up. Told the AP that Ahmadi Muslims, a refugee minority group from Pakistan, have faced apparent retaliation attacks since the Easter bombings. He said that some people have become suspicious of foreigners, not of Muslims per se. In the heat of the moment, a few have been attacked. So, I mean, yeah, people were pissed off. It's the same thing that happened here, right? Said that Sri Lanka's security forces were giving Ahmadis police and military protection. Okay. Mass funerals have been taking place in Jesus. Mass funerals. Okay, I guess that's probably
Well, yeah, there's like over 350 people
yeah.
dead.
Well, yeah. I guess I don't know. I was thinking along the lines of the individual families
Yeah,
taking care of it, but I guess it's true that would
well,
be
it's not
expensive.
mass graves or anything like that. It's just all these people in this community. I mean, Sri Lanka is a tiny island, man.
True. Yeah, I guess when I saw the words mass funerals, I was thinking like just a giant pyre, you know?
Right? Just throw them all in a hole and bury
Seriously.
it. No,
Four Americans. Oh, yeah,
this
okay.
isn't the Soviet Union.
Hey, man. Look, when you got that sort of stuff, weird shit happens, right? Four Americans were killed in the attacks. They have been identified as Alex Arrow, 11, from Washington, D.C., siblings Amelie? Okay, I'm not used to not being able to pronounce an American's name, 15, and Daniel Lindsay, dual American-British nationals who lived in London, and Dieter Kowalski, I'm pretty sure I said that right, 40 from Denver. Okay, well,
Yeah, that sounds right.
you know, God rest their souls, and all the rest of them too, not just the Americans, but like, Jesus
Right,
Christ.
like your heart always goes out to their immediate families and their extended families.
Yeah, I saw a picture on Facebook of one of like a mother that like lost her entire family in the bombings. It's just, goddamn, that's a bad day.
Right, like I can only imagine, like I've lost family members before,
Sure,
but
yeah. It's not quite
and
the same, yeah.
right, I've never had. Well, we did have a cousin who died, who was our age, my wife's cousin, so it wasn't really my direct family, and it was accidental, but it wasn't like somebody murdered her or anything like that.
Right, I'm even trying to imagine, like, finding out all of my family members have been blown the fuck up. Oh. Oof.
Well, yeah, this day and age, it's not as common.
Yeah, it's
At
not.
least in America.
We're not in World War II anymore, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I just imagine like in other time periods, like even the 1800s and the 1700s, things like this weren't too super uncommon, especially like on the frontier in America and in frontier areas in Europe and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well,
and it might not be murder or anything. It might just be disease, but still, like your whole family gets wiped out in a day or something.
Yeah. To bring this to a happier note, creepy Sleepy Joe joins the fight. A new challenger approaches, Joe Biden, who I assume will be joining Super Smash Bros. Ultimate anytime now as the next DLC fighter, and I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Awesome.
I can't wait to see Joe Biden's grabs.
Somebody make that game.
They already made that game.
2020.
We just need the DLC for it.
Well, yeah, it's like they have.
By the way, just out of curiosity, guess who do you think is going to win the next election?
Donald Trump.
I wouldn't know. I don't have 20/20 vision.
Oh snap!
I'm sorry, that's a horrible joke. I couldn't.
Where's the Rimshaw sound effect?
I can already see people like trying to find Rotten Tomatoes to throw at me. Boo, boo. Yeah, Joe Biden is. I'm gonna get rid of it because the Sri Lanka thing is depressing. U.S. election 2020. Joe Biden launches presidential bid, joining very, very crowded field. How many people are in the Democratic field at this point? Because I don't think we saw the full clown car from the Republicans last time until like 2016, right? That's because even Trump didn't actually announce until what, March, I think, on 2016.
Yeah, it feels like it was later, but I don't know. They're all trying to. I think they're trying to get everybody who wants to go in early so they can kind of weed some people out to see
Yeah, this
who's
is
the
like
best.
this is like late April, and already it's basically down to Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, and everyone else should seriously just drop the fuck out.
Well, I think the problem is that there's a big like civil war going on within the Democratic Party between the Bernie Sanders radical socialist types and the more moderate Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden types.
Well, it's kind of an interesting situation going on with the Democratic field right now because there is a huge Bernie or bust movement right now, and I honestly think this is Bernie's last chance before he seriously is just because right now he's old.
Well, yeah, he's like
2024,
77.
and the man is clearly not doing all that awesome. As
Well,
far as
Joe Biden's 76. Like Trump is young compared to these guys. He's like 72.
I mean, yes, but like look at Joe Biden and then look at Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, Biden has a
Seriously.
little more
Like
oomph to it.
Biden doesn't look unhealthy. Biden doesn't look obviously unhealthy. You know, I can't.
Yeah,
say...
Biden doesn't look like he's in the gravity chamber from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie's got a little bit of the Gollum thing going on. No offense to Bernie. I get it. He's old. He's probably sickly. That's not his fault. But I think this is his last chance.
But what I don't get is like, why don't we get any like young people running for president?
I mean,
I know you have to be 35, but
I'm trying to imagine who I would actually want that I feel like would be experienced enough at 35.
Ben Shapiro.
Honestly, not even Ben. Not really. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Ben.
I think he would do fine.
Don't get me wrong. I love Ben, but like, I don't know. I feel like honestly, I wouldn't want someone involved in being the president until a little bit later. Maybe like 40, 45. But
well, why don't we get any of those people running?
I mean, dude, you have to build up enough. It takes a long time in politics to get the support. The internal support, the external support, the contacts, the network, all that stuff. It takes a long time. Like, when's the last time we saw a really serious presidential bid come from someone that was below the age of 60 that wasn't Obama?
Yeah,
Just saying.
I've always wondered why we didn't have like younger people running for. I mean, I'm 33, so in 2020 I will turn the age you have to legally be to be president.
I think it's more of a natural limitation of politics, where it would be very, very, very difficult to get involved in politics soon enough to actually have a machine behind you. You know, by the time you're 35.
Yeah, most people aren't really interested. They don't even think about what they're going to do that far ahead, you know.
No, most people wouldn't even get involved with politics until they're like 35. Like, that's usually when they'd start thinking about it's like, hey, do I actually want to do this, you know?
Yeah, I've thought about doing it, but I was like, I don't know, like exposing my family and everything to all the BS and stuff. It's just not something I'm really interested in. Plus, you know, who knows what's gonna fucking come out of the closet.
I love this description. What else? I'm not even reading anything else right now. Joe Biden. This is from the BBC. Joe Biden, the touchy-feely politician. Creepy Sleepy Joe.
Well, yeah, he was on the
BBC is apparently very woke on the Biden question.
He was on The View or something like that, and he was talking about. They asked him about this, like, oh, well, what about this sort of reputation you have? And he was basically just. They were totally like sympathetic and on his side about it, and totally. And he was just like, he said something like. It's basically like you should just know, you should know when it's okay and when it's not okay. And you should get consent every time for everything. And I was like, no, like I'm never gonna just know when a woman's uncomfortable all the time
Yeah, some of
because
it does have to be in the other person. And I don't just
right,
mean women or men. I mean, like, the other person, if they're uncomfortable, needs to say something. or I don't,
exactly.
or if you even want to, like, if you're really that worried about some sort of affirmative consent, safe words. Have we all just forgotten that safe words are a thing? Totally acceptable. If it's going too far, the word banana you can say with your mouth like completely bound and gagged. Just saying, banana's a great
Banana,
safe word.
banana,
Yeah,
banana.
you can say it with your mouth closed. You can say it like gagged. All that. It's great. Just banana's a great safe word.
Okay, I'm not gonna
Um,
ask how you know that,
you
but
know, I mean, you kind of did just ask, but we're just gonna ignore that question. Um, anyway, let's see.
I can't tell you because it's illegal in Texas.
Former Vice President Joe Biden has declared a presidential bid, putting an end to months of speculation. You mean everybody saying that Joe Biden is, like, for sure running?
Yeah, nobody was speculating. We were just speculating about
When?
when he would
Yeah.
win.
It wasn't really a speculation about if, it was when. In a video announcement that everyone was super shocked by, Mr. Biden argued that the core values of the nation, our very democracy, everything that has made America America, is at stake. The 76-year-old who has already run twice for the presidency.
Did you watch that
Loser.
video?
I did not.
Ben
It
Shapiro
it
played
told
it.
it told me that Joe Biden was gonna enter the race, so I was like, I mean, how much else do I really need to know there? It's pretty
Well, it
straightforward.
was the video basically like the thing about the video is he says stuff that I think 98% of Americans agree with, but then
Good start.
he says stuff like uh basically that Donald Trump is turning all of that around and is a big threat to America and blah 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 blah.
Oh Jesus, I will never understand. Well, I mean, I will sort of appreciate because I actually was a Bernie bro back in 2016. I was very much on the Bernie train, and I didn't like Trump. Um, at this point, if you're still sitting there going, Donald Trump is the ultimate fucking threat, he's basically Emperor Palpatine, you're
Mega Hitler.
yeah, you're fucking stupid. I don't know what to tell you. Um, like he's not that fucking crazy, dude. He's not
What?
doing all that crazy shit. I don't know what to tell you. There's a whole bunch of things that make him sound bad, and even things that he said that make him sound bad. But then you go look at what he's actually done, and the list of things that he's actually done, and it's not that bad. It's really not.
Well, I thought it was dumb when people were referring to Obama that way, and I think it's dumb when people refer to Trump that way. I thought it
Yeah,
was dumb when people were referring to Bush that way. It's just I don't think like I look at my life and I think, well, how often does the president impact my daily life? And I'm like, well, next to never. There are more things that impact my daily life, like my job or my relationship with my wife or my parents,
hmm
that impact my daily life way more than anything the president says or does.
I mean, honestly, half the time when people are complaining about something Trump is doing, I feel like they're just bored. Honestly,
Right? They
or it's
have
their
nothing else to
or
do.
it's their job, and their job relies on complaining about the president, so they do it. And I don't know. And this is again, like you were saying, this is back through not just the Trump administration. This is back through Obama. When you had the fucking Fox News sitting there going, "Is Obama a secret Kenyan Muslim?" I don't know. Find out at 11. Like,
We needed a special counsel
yeah,
investigation to
seriously.
find
Oh,
out.
fucking. Where's your birth certificate, Kenyan Muslim? Bleh. Birth certificate. Oh my god, guys! Like I promise, I fucking promise. The
Yeah.
DOJ has got that somewhere. He doesn't need to. Seriously. Um,
Well, I
but
don't know, man. Like some of these federal agencies, do you really trust them to actually do the research? If they approved a FISA warrant based on the Steele dossier,
I mean, I just I feel like that's against Trump though. Like I don't. I sincerely doubt that before his presidency, Obama had like bought off the entire DOJ. You know.
yeah,
Um,
that's
but anyway, What else did he say? Also, he's up against 19 other hopefuls. So there's currently 20 Democrats in the field, and only 2 of them matter, which is really entertaining. Which actually
Well,
kind of
and
makes me sad because I'm like, I actually kind of like Yang and Gabbard. Like those are 2 people that if they went up against Trump, I'd consider it. I would give them like a fair
nah,
shot. I'd give them a hearing. I'd let them talk.
I would listen. I would not be too upset if they had won. If
No,
they got the nomination and they beat
I
Trump,
would
I
not be
wouldn't
lighting my hair on
be
fire.
like, right. Well, I wouldn't do that no matter who wins, I guess. But
I mean,
it
it does
well,
sound kind of fun, doesn't it?
if well, I'm bald, so I guess I have a beard. I could light that on fire.
You got pubes.
Yeah, sure.
You're like, no, that is not getting lit on fire. Fuck off.
Yeah, that is like you protect that area with every fiber of your being. It's like I was telling, like people get like pierced down there. I'm like, I spend probably like a good 90% of my existence keeping sharp objects away from that area, and people pay money for someone to pierce it.
Yeah,
No,
do it
thank you.
professionally. Yeah. No, I find it amusing. Like I don't know why pretty much anyone, because at least with Yang and Gabbard, I feel like they're there for principled reasons, and Bernie to a certain extent too. But I don't appreciate that. If there are many times where he's very clearly playing team politics, and I don't like team politics. I don't like when the Republicans do it. I don't like when the Democrats do it, and he wants to be the frickin' come from behind dark horse, radical outsider. It's like you're just not anymore, though, bro. Like you're
Well,
just not.
I feel like he's more like the first time he ran. I felt like he was very genuine. Now he
Hmm.
just feels disingenuous because he's going further left than he was before.
Well, I mean, there are times where he pulls it back and like he goes, "All right, hold on, guys. Let's chill out for a second. We need to we need to calm down. I can't go that far left. I actually want to win. Holy shit, guys."
Well, yeah,
Um,
he says some things I like he's pro border, I guess. He doesn't want to abolish ICE, but then he says things like felons in prison should be allowed to vote, you know.
I get where he's coming from a principled standpoint, but it's just look. There's a very good argument for why felons in prison should not be given the right to vote. They did
Well,
something
I
wrong.
don't think
We're not supposed to. And if you want to, anyone that wants to have a discussion about certain felons versus other felons, because I mean this is actually something I agree with AOC on, where she tweeted about this recently, talking about the idea that it's not really the same thing if we're talking about a murderer or a bomber versus a guy that got caught with a dime bag. You know, it's not the same thing.
well, you're not typically a felon if you get caught with a dime
Oh,
bag.
okay, sure, but there are felony possession charges. So
Well, yeah, but you have to have like I don't know, like 200 pounds of marijuana or something. That's a
no,
lot.
no, it would not be 200 pounds. It would honestly just be. It would only need to be enough for them to get you on like intent to distribute.
A U-Haul truck full.
No, it would not. It would be like a pound. Honestly, it would be like 1 pound.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot, but still, like I don't.
Well, in Oregon, you can distribute all you want.
Fair enough, but like take the point because there are a lot of people in prison right now that they're on their 3rd strike. They got caught with felony possession and
Yeah.
they don't get to vote. And why they don't get to vote? Because they liked weed. I can jive with that argument a little bit, you know.
Well, I don't think they. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the like 3 strikes and you're out necessarily. Like I understand
I'm not either.
why they would want a standard there, but I don't think. I think we need to leave it more up to like the judges, like the judicial system.
Yeah,
Because there's a reason
if a judge
they're
thinks
the
you belong,
judge.
yeah, if a judge thinks you belong in prison for life, like, okay,
Well, yeah, judge and jury, I guess,
well, yes,
depending
obviously.
on the kind of case.
Yes, you're right, but
But
you take the point. Like, if at the end of the whole thing,
Right.
the judge makes a determination and is like, dude, you need to be away from people. Okay, sure,
Well,
that's his
right.
determination. I don't care how much weed you have. The judge isn't putting you away for life.
Well, then going back to the whole, like you said, the right to vote. Like personally, I don't think people have a right to vote. I think people have a privilege to vote. I would call it more of a privilege than a right. And I'd also think of it more as like a responsibility than a right necessarily.
I would say the two things are quite similar, but like when you
right, but this goes
down,
back. This goes back to my like words need to be spoken carefully. Like the words you use to describe something mean something.
Sure.
And I don't think because if it's a right, then everybody should get it regardless, right?
Yeah.
And so why shouldn't felons in prison who, placed bombs at the Boston Marathon get to vote?
Well, I mean,
it's a right.
When it comes once you're in prison, there's a whole lot of rights that get stripped.
Well, yes, but
I'm just saying,
that's why I think
when you're in prison, if people are imprisoned, I don't think it's unfair that someone that has lost their stake in society lose their not their inalienable rights, but their sort of government given rights, right? There are certain government related rights that you lose. You don't get to go wherever you want anymore. You don't get to complain if you get searched all the time. You don't get to complain that you don't get to do a lot of things because you fucked up. Especially like honestly,
right to bear arms.
Right, like if you like went in there for a violent crime, I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy. I just don't. When it comes to non-violent crimes, I think there's a more complicated discussion there. But
yeah, the non-violent crimes, I'm more or less like libertarian on that. But I think because you get this a lot from, I don't know if people on the right, but I know people on the left do it a lot where they try to just describe things that they want as rights, like healthcare. Like you have a right to healthcare. And I was thinking about this, and I was trying to think, there was a couple years ago, they were trying to make the case that you have a right to food. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to think, I don't think that's true. I don't think people have a right to food because
I think
if you're in the wild, I guess, if you're in nature, you don't just get food. Like you can go get food. You can earn food, I guess. You can work to get food, but you need to work to get food. You can't just expect other people to work, grow the food, ship it to this grocery store, and then you just get it because you exist. Like that's not how it works.
Well, I think the easiest way to think of rights and to express them, because it's a really easy connection to make, is every right that someone claims becomes it's a negotiation. You're basically saying, I want this right, and to everyone around them, that's basically saying this is now your responsibility to make sure that my rights are protected, and then presumably that goes both ways, right? They're also protecting your rights that they would claim for themselves and for you.
Well, presumably,
and that's why I think that's why I personally think that while it's a great ideal in with the right to free speech, right? I think it's a great ideal to say something along the lines of, I may not agree with what you're saying, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. I think that might be a little bit lacking nuance, just because we found ourselves in a position where when you go down that road of saying I'll defend your rights even if you won't defend mine, you put yourself in a position where the other person, if they don't agree with your position on it, can just say, yeah, fuck it, and I'm going to use that right to destroy your rights. As we're seeing right now with the anti-free speech people, that'll, if anything happens to them, they cry foul and say, where's my free speech? But they'll use their free speech all day long to fuck with yours, right?
Well, they are allowed...
They are allowed to do that.
Well, they're allowed to do that under free speech, but the problem is that they don't typically just limit it to speech necessarily.
They take it into action.
They do violent... Like, did you watch the Jordan Peterson speaking at that Princeton, or it was like some
I didn't,
college,
but
and they were in a church, and they were just banging on the windows like half the
oh,
time, and
I
like
did actually see that. But
screaming, and
my point
it was like
was,
the zombie apocalypse.
to like just to finish the thought was basically I think a better way of thinking about how to approach liberal rights is more along the lines of I will respect the rights that I uphold if you can agree that they're rights that we should uphold. Because if we can't agree that we both deserve free speech, then like I should hold you to the standard that you say you want. Because otherwise, I know at some point you're going to use that against me. You're going to use my principles against me, and that's that's just unacceptable. The anti-free speech people, if they go around getting censored, kind of their problem. That's what they wanted. That's the world they wanted. If they don't like it, they're free to change their mind, and then we can all agree that we're going to move forward with free speech. Until then, they can fuck off, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I get that, but at some point, it's like you just devolve into, well, who's the more powerful grouping? Who can censor who first, or the most, or better?
I mean, they always end up censoring themselves first because they're the ones that allow it the easiest. Which is why I'm saying,
Right.
me personally, if one of these people came asking me for help because they'd been censored, I'd be like, "This is what you wanted. I hope you like it. Bye."
Yeah, I mean, I would 100%. I am so tempted to just agree with that, but there's a part of me, because I've been thinking a lot about like virtue and like what makes an individual virtuous or like a good person.
Sure.
And if I believe in the principle of free speech and someone who doesn't comes to me and says, "Oh, I'm being censored, I need your help," and me just saying, "Well, no, you asked for this, I hope you like it," I think they're just going to think, "Well, crap, like nobody's helping me." And they could either go, "Okay, so this just means I need to be strong enough to censor everybody else if I want to have free speech." Or they can say, "Well, maybe my stance against free speech was bad," and change their mind. But if you welcome them back, they're more likely to help them out. You're more likely to listen to what you have to say because
But how often does it actually go that way? Is what I'm saying. Because most of the time,
I'm not
even
sure. No one's ever come to me.
well, no, but I mean, like look at it from another perspective. Because there's lots of people like not to because I know that the Sri Lankan thing just happened, so I'm not trying to point at the Muslims too hard, but there is a section of Muslims that are actively seeking to. I'm speaking mostly about the Wahhabis, and certain other smaller sects, but that will actively use liberal policies and want to use liberal policies to completely destroy democracy. They're using democracy to destroy democracy. And I think at
Right.
some point
Well,
we need to be able to
they're
push back and say, no, if you don't agree with these principles, I don't care what you have to say anymore. If you don't like these things, well, you can get the fuck out. I don't care anymore.
yeah, that's tough because either it depends on like how universally you apply your principles, I guess.
I
And
think if someone
understand the
actually changes
point.
their I think if someone actually changes their mind, and for me the standard would basically be, can you actually explain why you're wrong? Can you explain the other side's argument and understand it? At that point, sure, I'm totally fine. But before that point, where they're still going on about how awful free speech is, by the way, I'm being censored, please help me. Fuck you. So fuck you. Double fuck you.
Yeah,
You don't
I mean,
understand how like you're just completely blind to their own bullshit. And yeah, they might go further down the rabbit hole, but it's either they learn the lesson and come to our side, or they stay exactly where the fuck they are. At which point, okay, so they're censored anyway. It's what they wanted. It's the hole they dug. Enjoy it.
oh, right. You made this bed, now you lay in it.
Yeah.
But there's also the point. I'm trying to think where I heard this. I know I read it in Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but it's basically like an enemy, like the most loyal ally is somebody who was once an enemy, something like that.
I just don't think we're in a
And
position to be able to convert them. I think it's a case of they're going to have to see directly the consequences of their actions and how wrong they are and why they're wrong. They're going to have to experience it.
well,
And
yeah, I mean, you can't convert everybody. That's for sure. I
and
agree with that.
but if they don't, because there's a lot of people that will not understand how bad something is until they see it with their own two eyes. They can't. They're not capable of conceptualizing what it's going to cause down the line. They're not capable of looking that far down.
Right. They don't learn the lesson until they experience the consequences.
Right. And for the people that can learn the lesson, awesome. Come over to our side. Cool beans. We're welcome. Like, the right is, and even the center left where I am, you know what? You want to join us? Yeah, cool, man. Go for it. But I'm really not impressed by the people that suddenly change their mind the instant it happens to them, and suddenly they understand. Like, no, hold on. You can stew in it for a little bit, and then we'll talk. Let me know. But
Well, I think the people who they don't actually believe in the principles, but they're using them as a shield for their own
right,
anti-principle stance, I guess. I think those people get found out pretty quickly, and they're not as successful as they like to be. I understand the threat and like it needs to be addressed in some way or another, but I don't think the correct way of addressing it is to, because then you get into the problem of, okay, well, at what point is somebody being just voicing a dissident opinion as opposed to actually trying to take away your free speech?
I mean, I suppose it's
right.
possible that you could get people that are rejecting people and just saying, well, we think you're opposing free speech, but I also think that would be, like, from the other side, like you were saying, it's easy to find the people that are opposing free speech, but also trying to claim their free speech. I think it would also be pretty easy from the other way around, where it's just like they, just to make it as apolitical as possible, they're anti-napkins, right? Let's just, I don't know, they're anti-napkins.
Fuck napkins.
Yeah, exactly. For just some bullshit political.
Fuck plastic
yeah,
straws.
Exactly. Fuck plastic. Fuck napkins. Fuck plastic straws. That's the thing we're going with for some reason. I'm aware that it's me that brought it up, but point is, it's possible you'll get someone that'll basically be trying to take out a political opponent, claiming they're anti-free speech. But I mean, there's always going to be liars.
Anti-napkin.
Right, and really all they are is anti-napkin, right? I also think that would be pretty easy to figure out for any honest actor. Because is it possible people go to like zealot levels when it comes to the whole free speech thing? It's possible.
Supposed to be like the role of the media, or at least that's how I've always kind of thought of it. But then you get a corrupt media like we have, where they just agree. They all agree with that sort of behavior. Like, what do you do then? Like, I know we have alternative media. Like, you can actually go onto YouTube and watch the whole video as opposed to the clip CNN cut out showing the girl calling for peace as opposed to going and burning down the suburbs.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously, how often does anyone actually go look at the original video?
I do it all the time, but I'm a dork like that.
I mean, I'd be curious to know how often people. I would like to see some sort of study on how often people actually go and look. How often people see an out of context clip and then actually go and find out. Because, like you said, like you go and look, I go and look. I'm curious.
Well, yeah, if there's a video and they show a clip of it, and I'm like, I want to see the rest of the video. But if I
think a lot of normies don't.
I'm almost positive. Well, yeah, a lot of people who don't. I mean, that they just want to watch, the basketball game or whatever, and they see that and they're like, "Oh man, that's bad," and then they go back to watching the basketball game. But I am guilty. I know I am guilty of like headline reading from time to time.
Oh, sure.
Just because not enough time in the day to read everything or watch everything.
Yeah, I'm not saying anyone that's headline reading is a bad person. It's just, yeah, like, but if you're
You
missing the
just got to be
context, it's possible
aware.
that you're spreading bullshit.
Yeah, you just got to be aware that all this stuff is there's a different motivation behind all these videos and news stories,
Sure.
especially by mainstream media outlets. Like they're there to make money, and they make money by getting you to look at it. And the easiest way to get you to look at it is to make you mad.
True.
So
But
they
just to
found out ways
finish
to do that.
just to finish the point from earlier, I guess that my point is we need some sort of ideological protection from having our own principles used against us. Because I think the problem with what we're currently looking at when it comes to liberalism is that it's too permissive, that it's too
Right.
it's too loose
I
to
understand. I get that
where
problem. It's too
to
open.
it's too open to the point where it's very easy for a bad actor to come in and be like, I mean, this looks pretty abusable. This looks pretty easy to
Well,
abuse.
that's I mean that's why I've been thinking a lot about virtue.
Hmm.
Um, not like virtue signaling
Right.
because that's a corrupt form of virtue. It's not virtue, but like I've been thinking mostly between this link between virtue and liberty and how you have to have both together
Hmm.
because if you abuse liberty or if you're not virtuous, you're going to abuse liberty and then you're going to lose both because other people are going to think, well, they're getting ahead by doing this bad thing and nobody's stopping them. So I'm just going to do it too because now it's okay. And then if you lose liberty, you think, well, it's not against the rules not to do this thing. So I'm going to do that thing or I'm going to act this way. It's not against the law to not help somebody who's getting mugged or something like that, which it's not. And so if you've as a society have lost enough virtue, you think, well, I don't want to get beat up or I don't want to get sued for beating up a mugger,
Hmm.
getting involved. I don't want to get in trouble for getting involved. And so you're less, to me, that's less virtuous in a way. I mean, I'm not an expert or a philosopher, so I'm having a hard time grasping like a solid concept of what is and isn't virtue. And I think that's normal because it's not fixed. But I do think that nobody ever talked to me like, well, what does it mean necessarily to be a good man or a good person?
Sure.
Like there were things like, yeah, you don't hit other people and they, certain basics, but no one ever thought, like, okay, so like there's courage. Like being a virtuous person means you're courageous, but you have to walk the line between being courageous or being courageous, and that falls in between being foolhardy or brash
Hmm.
and kind of being timid or weak. Like sometimes you want to be a little more timid, a little more cautious, but other times you want to be a little more foolhardy, and courage is in there somewhere, and you just got to kind of find that balance.
Well, I think you're talking about effectively the dichotomy between the logical approach and the emotional approach, the short term and the long term
Yeah.
approach. The short term being
Well,
the
yeah,
emotional, the immediate, the long term being the logical and the methodical.
yeah. I am reading Ben Shapiro's book, and he talks about the tension between, he calls it the tension between Jerusalem and Athens, necessarily, like the religious, like the moral and the reasoning parts of Western culture. So that probably influences me a lot, but it's something I've been thinking about before I started reading his book.
Sure.
And I started reading
I haven't read it, so I wouldn't know.
I'm not done yet, but I started looking into like what were the classical virtues and like where did they come from and how did that evolve over time into what we have now. And I've never heard anybody currently speaking of what it means to be a virtuous person, like use those words. And I don't know why the word virtue just grabs me. because personally it just kind of like I'm like, oh, that's like an interesting word. Like you don't hear it very much. I want to know more for some reason, and I just maybe because I wasn't a super virtuous person in my past, but
for me, like if you're curious, for me the one of the sayings that I saw that I liked the best growing up was it the best kind of man is the one that plants trees that he knows he's never going to see grow. And this was an old Greek saying that basically meant,
yeah,
if you're building a strong society, you have to be thinking about, what are the effects of my actions when I'm not here, right? How are my actions affecting the long term, and how can I affect that in the short term? It's a combination of the rational and the emotional. It's combining both things to navigate your way through to making the best decision. And I honestly think if you wanted, for me, being a virtuous person is making the best decisions I can for myself and the people around me. And I think if everybody does that, and everybody does that with a sense of community in mind, while also putting themselves first, because, obviously, if everyone in the group is doing well, the group is doing well, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, to me, that looks like a virtuous person. Regardless of ethnicity, regardless of religion, that's a virtuous person. Someone that understands that they personally are of primary importance, the people around them are of... I hesitate to say secondary importance because it makes it sound like they're on a lower rung, because they're really not. To me, it's a 51...
Well,
to me, it's a 51-49 split. You're just as important as me, I'm just primary,
Well, I wouldn't think of it as more or less... I wouldn't think of it like the other people around you are less important than you. I would just think of it as you have less ability to help them or to do things for them than they have for themselves. So you can impact yourself way more than you can do something like I can diet and lose weight myself, but to get my mom to do it, it would be nearly impossible. Yeah. And that's somebody I'm close to,
Sure. Well, that's why I describe it as the 51-49 split, though. The 51 being yourself.
I really like how you put that.
Because it's not that the people around me are that much less important, because they're not. But if I don't take care of myself first, I can't help them, right? If I'm not put together, I'm useless to them and myself.
If you don't take care of yourself, then they, loving you, will have to take care of you.
Right. You effectively become their 51%, and now you're just dragging everyone down.
Yeah, that's how I would look at it, but
I think I think I at least have a pretty good start at what I conceptualize genuine virtue as. I don't think it's a complete idea, but I think I'm onto something.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same way. Like I kind of have a sense of what it is, and it's just a matter of practicing it and getting better at it. But then I was also thinking of the link between virtue and liberty, because if you can't have, because if people aren't virtuous, so they just kind of do whatever they want in the immediate and makes them feel good, or like rape, murder, kill, whatever.
Sure.
They're not virtuous, then you can't have as many liberty or as much liberty as you want, because you need protection of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Or you desire, like your immediate desire isn't for virtue, it's for safety at that point.
Sure.
And so you can't, it's just to survive. And so you have to have a certain, I guess you also have to have like a minimum amount of, if the more virtuous people are, the more safe everything is, and then the more liberty you can enjoy.
Well, yeah, but I don't think a certain amount of it's going to have to be everyone agreeing on it, isn't it? A certain amount of it's going to have to.
Yeah.
Like I said, I honestly think that the more I think about it, the more it becomes apparent to me that virtue is almost impossible without a community. It's just because there comes a point of like you can be the most virtuous person in the world, but if you're doing it in a void, it's like, what are you actually doing?
Doing it out in the woods, then
you can milady all you want if there's no women there, right? But you're not gonna.
Well, I was also I was also thinking that like you have to, in order to have virtue, you need to have liberty too, because if the choice is already made for you, then you can't make the right choice.
True.
So you have to be able to make the wrong choice, to make the unvirtuous choice. You have to have that liberty in order to, because I guess in the end, like liberty and virtue are choices. Like you have to make those choices.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you want? And I do feel like there are a lot of people, especially like on the left. And I actually knew a guy who said that in college, who said that he knew people who would be totally fine being slaves, just doing a little bit of work, doing some work, and they wouldn't have to worry about food or paying housing or anything. Just they live somewhere, be totally fine,
Mm-hmm.
farming or whatever, and
there's plenty of people
being
that
taken care of.
they refuse to actually take any responsibility. They just want to be told what to do, and they'd be happy that way.
God, I would not. No,
I would seppuku.
I would be whipped.
I would massively seppuku. Yeah.
I'd be that guy who like tried to run away every other month or something.
I'd fucking seppuku with a pitchfork. I would find some way. I would do it on his goddamn front porch, so my guts can mess everything up.
You gotta struggle for liberty. You can't just give up.
Fuck that! I'm gonna be one of the Buddhist guys that lights themselves on fire in protest.
Yeah, but at least they come back to life, I guess.
I'm pretty sure suicide's a sin in Buddhism too. Like, it's not a good thing.
Probably.
I guess the protest part might even it out a little bit in their karma, but I'm pretty sure they're doing that knowing full well that karma's not going to be happy with them.
Well, I guess what if it's like suicide and redeeming your honor? Or something? I guess that's not really Buddhist. It's more
that's more like
honor society.
That's more like ancient Shinto.
Chinese.
Yeah.
So, Sleepy Joe. What about
Sleepy Creepy
this
Joe?
Guy?
We haven't talked about him hardly at all. Let's see, with the touchy-feely politician.
Not a ton there though.
That's true.
He's entered the race and he's had some he's getting a lot of pressure from his touchy-feely stuff and
past racist remarks about Indians.
Right, and his opposition to forced busing.
Oh god, did you see his? Oh god, where's they have his campaign slogan here? Fuck. Hold on. There is Joe Biden. I need to find it real quick. Campaign slogan. Images. Oh, you fucking... Did you delete it already, you bitch? No, anyway, there was a picture of, like, it was his slogan with the Biden with the weird E. But it has him and Obama in the far right-hand panel, which is like in the front panel, it's a B over his wife, with him also in the panel with her. On the right-hand panel, it's him, like, hanging out with Obama with just an N covering Obama. And I'm like, huh. You didn't really like either of these people, did you? It's sort of a side point. It's not serious, but it's really funny. The fact that he seriously just has an N hanging over Obama. It's like, dude, no, stop. Hold on. Bad design. Very bad design.
Yeah. Well, I saw the Babylon Bee, of course, they're...
Oh, I love those guys.
Thing like Biden says he's not racist because he's got a black friend, and it has a picture of Obama.
That's great. I fucking love the Babylon Bee.
I know, right? Like, he's gonna have a hard time, I think, from the radical intersectional crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the media is in that crowd, so he's gonna have a hard time there. Like, I'm not a fan of Biden. I'm not a fan of him at all. I would never vote for him, or
Sure.
almost never vote for him, I guess. I don't want to rule anything out. But I wouldn't think the world's coming to an end if he won the presidency.
No, it wouldn't be like a Kamala Harris situation where I'm like, oh fuck.
Right. It's like, oh shit, like
Everybody
like an
buckle the
like
fuck up.
right. It's like, oh man, my state just took over the whole country.
Yeah.
Don't elect anybody to the presidency from the West Coast. The last great president from the West Coast was Ronald Reagan.
Look, if Sanders or Biden's wins, I'm not too worried. I think Sanders would end up being highly ineffectual, just because the Democrats and the Republicans would both be like, no, fuck no. I think Harris would be a little bit more effective in that particular respect. Biden, I mean, he'd basically be Obama too, Electric Boogaloo. Pretty similar to Clinton, with slightly less scandals. At least there's not constant rumors about him killing everyone, so that's good.
Yeah, but there's video evidence of him touching women and them looking extremely unhappy about it.
Yeah, I don't think that's... At least he's not Clinton.
True, but
Biden's weird, Clinton is rapey.
At some point, it's going to come out, that he touched
Probably
some woman inappropriately. I'm thinking,
I'm happy to hold him to his standard. Fuck this guy. He's the one that said believe all women. So here you go, Joe. Hope you like it.
Mike Pence's standard that he's not alone in a room with another woman that's not his wife.
I think for someone
I'm liking that more and more.
I think with someone of his standing, yeah, I think that makes sense. Honestly,
right? If I were like a public official or somebody like that, I think I would have like a GoPro on 24/7, more or less.
Okay, maybe not.
At least while I was at work or in the office. Nope, I'm recording everything.
I'm pretty sure
me honest and everybody else with me.
just have cameras around your office. That's
no
all
way,
I'm saying.
man. Body cams.
Oh,
where
Jesus
it's at.
Christ! No,
I wouldn't wear it while I was sleeping or nothing, but
at that point, why not?
Well, because I'm sleeping. I sometimes I talk in my sleep. I don't know what I say.
You're gonna get recorded saying something racist.
Just spilling state secrets in my sleep.
What is it gonna be, a fucking live stream? Why would that even be? Oh my god, you're gonna fucking live stream your GoPro the entire presidency.
Live stream my entire life.
Fucking go talk to Putin. What is that you have on your head? With my horrible Russian accent. I was barely trying. Holy shit.
What have you got on your head?
There you go. Thank you for salvaging that. He's just wondering. He's like, oh, I'm live streaming my whole presidency. He's like, there's supposed to be like a secret meeting, right? Yeah, I know. It's on Live Leak right now.
Totally secret. No one watches this anyway. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it.
Only me and my closest 4 million friends watch this.
No, but I would definitely consider having like a GoPro on and then like turning it on whenever I thought like this situation could be used against me, I would turn it on. But then I guess
I would just say have like cameras.
Well, yeah, but then what if the cameras can't see what's going on? It's like, what if they don't see my hands or something, and they're like, oh, he made like the okay hand gesture and then stuck his other index finger into the hole.
So cover the blind spots?
Yeah, I guess so.
You can add more cameras, right? Like, I'm just saying.
Never enough. Just Google Glasses, man.
Just Google Glass everything. Jesus. All right. Well, you're apparently going to be an absolute delight to fucking work for on the campaign trail. Jesus.
Right. I mean, it's a little excessive, but maybe I'll just stick with the whole having somebody else in there when there's a woman around.
That might do it. Yeah. Maybe even like a female aide that you really trust. Who knows? Maybe your wife.
My wife.
There you go. Perfect.
That's it.
Perfect. Mr. Biden ran first for the presidency in the 1988 election. but he withdrew after admitting that he had plagiarized a speech by Neil Kinnock. Wait,
Yeah, I read that. He was
Kinnock? Kinnock is how do you say that? The leader of Labour Party in the UK at the time. He stole a fucking Brit's speech. Aw. After that bid, he spent time rising through the Senate ranks and eventually became chairman of the Judiciary and Foreign Relations Committee. Good job, Joe Biden. Sleepy, creepy Joe, coming on up. In 2008, he ran for president again.
Kinnock.
Yeah, something. Failed to get the political traction he needed, and then he was basically Obama's bro for 8 years, so good for him. I don't think there's a whole lot to say right now. He's Sleepy Creepy Joe. He's the same guy we've been talking about for months now. So, yeah. There's a reason we spent more time talking about philosophy than we did Joe Biden. There's not a whole lot to work with here.
Well, I mean, I wrote down a couple things from the video, his announcement video, and he said, I wrote down that he's the Justice Democrat. I mean, the Justice Democrats are upset. Like, they oppose Biden. Biden's like Judas to them, you know?
Oh, yeah, I forgot they wouldn't like Biden because they think he's establishment. I mean, he is establishment, right. So
well,
they're right, he is. But yeah.
So, yeah, I wrote down he's pretty much everything the radicals in the Democratic Party hate in his ad, which seems pretty pro-American, make America great again, by appealing to the lofty ideals of our founding, as opposed to claiming that America was founded on racism and genocide. He's going to get him into a lot of trouble with those radicals. So,
is it just me, or am I the only one that hears the Justice Democrats hate him, and I hear an endorsement? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Right. That's a bonus. That's why I said, well, if he gets elected, I'm not going to worry too much.
Yeah, pretty much. If Cenk Uygur is upset, I'm probably happy.
Yeah.
There's a very strong correlation between him being upset about something and me being happy about something.
At least Cenk Uygur is a capitalist.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It's not a one-to-one relationship. There are some things that I actually agree with Cenk on completely. But
well, I think Biden would consider himself a capitalist as well.
Yeah, I do not think if there's one person in the Democratic lineup besides Gabbard, because I don't think she's a socialist either, like pretty much at all. Yang a little bit, but I think for Yang, I almost feel like his UBI thoughts is more like a experiment rather than something he's seriously trying to impose. At least from what I see.
The only way I would ever get behind UBI is if we eliminated 100% of every other welfare system and then went to that. Just as a way of consolidating it all and then giving people money that way.
I would want to see two things. I would want to see basically a complete tax overhaul in the form of VAT. I would want to see welfare go straight the fuck away. Because, again, like you're saying, if we're giving everyone $1,000 a month, frankly, if you can't figure it out from there, I don't know what to tell you. Because that is enough to live on if you're willing to live in not so nice neighborhoods. Or work on Section 8, or like all these different things. Even if you got rid of welfare in general, there are certain things like housing assistance and that sort of thing that would still exist.
Or, just rent a house with two other people. They get in $1,000.
Well, I'm trying to think of, like, because you got to remember, some of the people that would be receiving this would also be elderly. And, if you get rid of things like entitlements, that also raises the question of, does Social Security survive that purge? And if it doesn't, well, I don't think it's necessarily reasonable to expect Bertha to be at 80 looking for a roommate. I think it's fair to say that there are certain situations where housing assistance is appropriate.
That's what cruise ships and old folks' homes are for.
Can you even get a room at an old folks' home for $1,000 a month?
I don't know. Like, I saw, like I said before, I've seen that meme where it was like this lady figured out that it was actually cheaper to just go on cruises all the time than it was to live in an old folks' home. So she just lived on a cruise ship because they have medical staff there that'll revive you if you get hurt or sick or something like that, and they have food and activities and
That's kind of awesome,
room
actually.
and board.
That's kind of fantastic. That's something I should consider when I get old.
Right, I was thinking, well, I should like crunch those numbers sometimes
Seriously,
and
like
then
I'm kind of
think
impressed.
about that.
I'm kind of impressed the old bird like took the time to sit there and go, okay, if what are my options here? I could get a normal home with maybe some roommates, old folks home, cruises. Like I'm honestly kind of impressed
Cruise.
because I wouldn't have it wouldn't have even occurred to me to look at a cruise as a living situation. You know?
Right, like it's not normal, like you don't think about it, but
No, I'm impressed by the ingenuity. That lady's cool. She's cool in my
right,
book.
free, like you get show entertainment and
Mm-hmm.
like the buffet, so you can eat as much as you want, kind of whatever you want. You get to go see like places you never got a chance to see before while you were working, and that's just a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
But back
That's a
to
dope idea. That's
right.
awesome.
So back to Biden though, like in his video, I just looked at my notes. He did reference the great boogeyman that the left always references, Charlottesville, and Trump's comments about good people on both sides.
Like I don't even think it's because this always comes up when everybody kind of tiptoes around. It's like, look, not everybody at Unite the Right was there because they were supporting white nationalism and the alt right.
Right.
There were lots of groups there that did not understand that what they were going to was an alt right rally. They thought it was a
Right.
normal right rally, and then they found out later, oh shit, this is what these guys stand for. Because at the time, the alt right was still a nebulous term. It was still sort of a like,
Yeah.
sort of a edgy, cool, yeah, okay, there was like hints of
Well,
white
just
nationalism, but it was
you're
still
not
everyone figuring
you're
it out.
not establishment right is basically what it was, and so
Yeah, at the
everybody
time,
who
fucking the gay
didn't agree
Jew,
with the establishment,
the fucking gay Jew
Milo.
Milo Yiannopoulos was alt right at the time. He's definitely not now because he's been kicked out by the alt right, like the
Right.
real alt right at this point. So I think it was fair at the time to say there are good people on both sides because there were. Like I don't think
Well, yeah.
most of the people at Unite the Right were there, singing blood and soil. It's not the case.
Well, and I don't think the people on the other side necessarily are great people either.
No, they're not.
Like,
But I mean, they also didn't kill anyone. So credit to them
well,
for
yeah,
that. But not for a lack of trying from the fucking videos
yeah,
I saw.
exactly.
But because I saw one
Well, you
dude
had
fucking shirt off with a goddamn handmade flamethrower with a can of aerosol.
yeah, I saw that too, but you had Antifa on that side too.
Hmm?
You guys know how much I hate Antifa.
Yeah, look,
Fuck those guys.
I'm not saying that everyone on either side was a fucking angel. There weren't. But also not everyone there was a demon either. It's just there were people there that even on the left hand side that were probably just there protesting, right wing politics and the alt right, whatever they thought the alt right was at the time. Because again, no one really knew what it was at the time. That's really
Yeah.
important context with the initial Unite the Right is that it was a very misunderstood idea at the time because it really wasn't anything. But yeah,
Right. Yeah. It was, like you said, it was just a nebulous term. But for me, like, do you think Trump they'd still be hammering Trump about this if he said that there were bad people on both sides instead opposed to that there were good people on both sides?
probably. I mean, like fucking today, I saw a bunch of Facebook posts going around with Trump basically saying, "Look, vaccinate your damn kids, get your little fucking crotch goblins, get them the shots. The measles are starting to break out. Bad. This is bad.
Yeah.
This needs to stop." And everybody on the left was still trying to figure out some way to fucking disagree with him. Like they're trying to wrap their head around. It's like, wait, Orange Man bad, but vaccine's good. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, we're having this debate here in Oregon right now, and it's crazy to me.
well no, but the entire way through, that even like when I was looking at the comments, they were like, yeah, Trump said something that was he's right on this one for once. Fucking retard man finally came around. Retard Trump. Ugh. It's like
He's only doing this because he's in the pocket of big pharma.
it's like holy shit, dude. Like, can you guys just say, is it really that hard to say? It's like, look, I don't normally agree with the guy, but he's right on this one. He's right. Like, he's right on this one. Is it that hard to just fucking say that? Seriously.
Here in Oregon, they're passing a bill that says that you have to have vaccines in order to attend public school. And they're trying to, like, I've stayed out of it because, yeah, fucking get vaccinated, you jackasses. But there's a lot of, like, people I know that are conservative and Republican that are, like, they're so libertarian, I want to say, that to them this is tyranny. This is forced. This is the government forcing you to get vaccinations.
I get that argument. Like, I'm sympathetic to the
like they're trying to portray people holding down children and forcing a needle into their arm.
I'm sympathetic to the argument. I get it, because there is also, like, the slippery slope argument of, if we just let them force us to inject our kids with these things, yeah, maybe this time it's beneficial, but what about next time? Like, I understand, right. But we're at a point where we're dealing with, the potential for pandemics on the back of people aren't vaccinating their fucking kids, Cyndi Lauper.
That bitch.
Was it Cyndi Lauper, or was it someone else? It was.
I don't know.
Oh, what the fuck was this lady's name? It began with a J. I'm an idiot. Oh, fucking, I can't remember.
Janis Joplin?
I think so. It might be. That sounds similar enough. Maybe. Anyway, there's a whole bunch.
Allegedly.
But anyway, yeah, there's a whole bunch of, like, Hollywood celebrities that began this, like, rode on the coattails of this on the hippy dippy side of things. Where it's like, no, they don't need vaccines. They just need good vibes and herbs. And I'm like, oh crystals. My God. Yeah, we need healing crystals. That'll fix the measles. And I'm like, oh, some Jesus.
Wheatgrass.
Yeah, some wheatgrass and soy. Jesus Christ.
That's a funny, like, the whole vaccination thing is a funny argument or a funny issue right now, because it's something that splits both the left and the right. Like, there's people on the right that are like, no, get your goddamn kids vaccinated, you idiots. Here's all the evidence. There's reasons to do this. And then there's people on the left that believe that too. And then there's people on both the left and the right that are like, no, man, like, you can't force us to do that, or there's alternative medicine.
It's the hyper libertarians on both sides saying, like, I'm not going to do what you tell me, which I get it. I do. I am sympathetic. I am sympathetic to the argument, but seriously, guys, look, your rights end where harm to me begins. Okay, you're free to walk wherever. You're free to, like, this is the Ben Shapiro argument. You're free to flail your arms around all you want until you hit me in the face.
Right.
If your kids are having measles and it's getting, like, my kids or my parents or someone I care about or me infected, we've got a serious problem. Once the externalities come to my doorstep, I'm sorry, your bullshit flies out the window. Like, you can't just force it on me. You can't force the consequences of your actions on me. No.
Yeah, I get that. I get the argument. It's just,
this is where the concept of externalities comes in, as, like, sort of a pushback on the extremes of libertarian ideals.
Right. This is one of the, because I can't remember. I wish I could remember this quote because I love it, but it's something like, liberty isn't freedom without limits. It's like something like that. Like, that you get the most liberty when you have rules applied most effectively, something like that.
There's a reason you can't have recreational nukes, for instance, right?
Right, like, that's not a good idea.
Exactly.
What if you don't lock your nuke up in a safe?
I'm all for like, the Second Amendment and all that, but, like, there are certain limitations on the weaponry you're allowed to have for a reason. I'm not saying they need to be expanded extensively. It's just there are certain areas where it's a really bad idea for you to be able to just do whatever the fuck you want. It's just a really bad idea.
Well, right. I think
Being a fucking plague bearer is an example of one of those really bad ideas.
oh, it's the apocalypse, man.
I don't think it's the apocalypse, but seriously, like, these are diseases that we thought were gone, that we thought were fucking eradicated. Well, apparently
Yeah.
not. Apparently fucking
Well,
not. And thank you, anti-vaxxers, for that.
well, yeah. The whole anti-vaxxer thing goes back to like fake news. The guy who did the research that said vaccines cause autism and published it, and media ran with it without doing their vetting or anything like that. And I mean, he got it published, and so
Dude,
I don't really want to place the blame fully on the media, but
dude, even if they did cause autism, seriously, if I had to choose between my kid being a little socially fucking awkward and having like mumps or fucking measles or polio,
depends on how severe the autism
I mean,
is.
sure, but if they didn't have autism in the first place, how severe is the autism going to fucking be, really?
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, have you ever? My wife worked for somebody who was 100% believed that vaccines gave her child autism.
Your wife works for an idiot.
Well, she doesn't work for her anymore.
Your wife used to work for an idiot. Allow me to clarify.
It was well, and she I don't want to give away, but she ran a school for children with autism. And so it was a big, the lady believed that her child got autism due to vaccines. But she also says things like, well, he knew how to read at age 2. I'm like, no, he fucking didn't know. He knows how to read at age 2. They can maybe repeat the things that you read to them. But that's not reading.
Fucking points out a letter that you told them what it means. It's like, that's
but
the letter A.
There are people that, and I think this is a side effect of the internet and social media. One of the negative side effects is that people can do their own research, but they can also
there's so much information that it's
there's so much
it's very
bad
hard to
information. That sounds, and they don't have high enough education or high enough knowledge in a specific area to vet these sort of things.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm not a medical expert at all, so I wouldn't even begin to understand this medical stuff. But if I watched a YouTube video on it and the guy made sense, I'd start to think but now I don't know, maybe I'm just getting more jaded, or maybe I just have more experience with the internet that I
don't even think it's
I don't think
it's unfair to be a little bit jaded nowadays, because it's there's a lot of fake bullshit out there. There's a lot of fake
there's
news.
So much, and I don't think that's necessarily different than any other time in history. I just think that it gets disseminated wider and faster.
Well, I think there is more of it now, because there's algorithms that'll pump it out. There's political machines that understand that if you put out enough propaganda, some people will believe it, and it will cause problems. And there's an incentive now to actively, continually produce propaganda.
Well,
and not just within your own country, within other people's countries, and then there are people that will, sort of self-perpetuate it. They'll see the propaganda, they believe it, they start writing about it, they start putting it out there, they convince other people of it, they start writing about it. It circles around itself.
Yeah, I was thinking before you had, I heard today of this thing people used to believe that if you were bald, if you lost your hair and you let a cow lick your head, that it would help stimulate the dead hair follicles back to life and your hair would come back. People believe that, and they would go and let cows lick their heads. That was a thing.
Somebody paid for that shit too. Someone paid for that.
It's just weird. It's just things like that, anti-vaxxing, the whole anti-vax thing or the flat earther thing. I just see them as modern day versions of that. These, people would spread around, rumors or like what are they called? Like home cures or whatever. Old wives' tales, old wives' cures or
Oh
something.
yeah, don't go get fucking checked out by the doctor. Just think happy thoughts.
Yeah,
Look at this crystal and
just
eat soy.
put this clove of garlic under your pillow for 3 days and your headaches will go away or something.
I
It's
don't
the
know.
same sort
Who
of
knows?
thing.
Maybe the garlic aroma does something, but it's like half the time these cures don't actually work. It's just the power of positive thinking working its magic.
Well, half the time I think it's just like if you wait long enough, it'll eventually go away.
That too. And then they get to
It's like,
claim
oh,
credit
wait
for it.
3 days. And they're like, whoa, if I just got to wait 3 days. And then they're like, well, they need something to do. Like, put this garlic in your right shoe.
Well, I think a lot of it there was definitely like a logic to it at some point. It's just the rest of us have moved beyond the bad thinking that was born out to be dumb. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, talking about dumb decisions, did you hear about this judge who was charged with obstruction of justice?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Feds charge Massachusetts judge with obstruction for aiding undocumented immigrants escape from ICE. That is a mouthful.
Hey, I'll be right back. You want to cover like the general
Sure.
outline of this real quick? I'll be
Yeah,
right
yeah.
back.
Basically, what's going? It's pretty self-explanatory. There was a judge in Massachusetts that, or allegedly, helps an undocumented immigrant escape from ICE. And let's have a look. Federal prosecutors charged a Massachusetts judge with obstruction of justice Thursday, saying she prevented immigration agents from arresting an undocumented immigrant after a state court hearing by allowing him to leave the courthouse through a back door. Goddamn, and she legit helped him. The indictment marks an unusual escalation in the federal government's strict immigration enforcement policy and its battles with states and local governments that shelter migrants. The indictment accuses District Judge
I'm back.
Shelley Richmond Joseph, hello, and court officer Wesley McGregor of allowing the immigrant to leave the courthouse out of a federal agent's sight and lying about it later. The charges come in the midst of a standoff between the Trump administration and dozens of U.S. communities that have objected to providing the federal government information on residents' immigration status. Man, people really don't appreciate the idea that we need to, know who the fuck
Have
people are.
rules.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, look, I understand conscientious objectors. I don't fault someone for acting on their conscience, but it's like, guys, seriously, it's not that hard to understand. We need to know who the people in our country are. We need to know where they're
Right.
from. We need to know what they're doing here. We need to know why they're here. This
Right.
information we need. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, these are all people who've, at least maybe this is too general, but I'm going to make this generality statement anyway.
Okay.
These are all people who grew up and live in upper middle class, probably predominantly white communities where everybody is nice and great and happy, and they've only ever met nice and great and happy people, and they've never had to really experience
A slum.
yeah, like somebody walking down the street punching their mailbox and then yelling at them about it just because it's Tuesday, or somebody who's actually dangerous being around.
Yeah.
There are dangerous. I mean, that's something that actually happened to me, but
It sounded very specific, yeah.
Right, it happened 2 days in a row. Anyway,
The fuck?
they're
Right, moving on.
dangerous people. I'm
Yeah.
not saying somebody who punches your mailbox is necessarily dangerous, but I mean
it's
they're
a pretty good pointer in that direction, but
well, yeah, it's like avoid them, or go out or do what we did and go out there and yell at them. Anyway,
just come out on the lawn with a fucking shotgun. You touch my mailbox again.
well, yeah, I was almost to that point. It happened the third night in a row. The cops, we called the cops, and they're like, "There's nothing we can do." I'm like, "Okay, good to know." Anyway, they just believe that everybody that human beings' default setting is good, and I don't think that is true.
No, that's stupid. That's like that's the kind of thing that gets socialized in by a lack of conflict. The
Well,
fucking
I also
sorry, go ahead.
now that I'm thinking about it, I think this kind of fits in with their worldview a bit more because I was thinking, well, they don't necessarily think of Hitler or any of these like mass killer types as people. Those aren't people. They don't understand that. They don't believe that they, on any level, can share some sort of humanity with somebody like Hitler.
I mean, same DNA, same species. Like,
Right. Like I hate. Okay, I have to preface this. I hate Hitler. You know who doesn't hate Hitler? He was the worst person on the planet
the fact that
in like a
anyone,
long
the
time.
fact that you seriously need to say you're anti-Hitler.
Yeah, I hate Hitler. All right,
I
I'm a
am
Republican.
also
I'm not authoritarian.
I am also anti-Hitler.
Yes,
I am also
let's go.
anti-Mussolini. I am
I'm going
anti-bad
on the
things,
record.
and I am pro-good things. Just for the record.
I'm going on the record right now as anti-Hitler. So next
Congratulations.
month, when I'm wearing my Trump hat, I can point to this.
I'm putting
Say,
that's going in the title,
see,
by the way.
awesome. Um, in the show notes, also we're anti-Hitler. We should just have that in every show notes.
Actually, yeah, I could just
We're
because that'll get saved
anti-Hitler.
too. Hold on, yeah, I'll work on that.
But to the point, um, Hitler was still a human being. Like the guards in Auschwitz were still people like you and me who got to this point, who got to the place where, for whatever reason, however they justified it to themselves, if you were in their position and went through the same things they did, there's a possibility that you would probably be there too.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's like I never really thought of that way until I think Jordan Peterson said something like that, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, because everyone always thinks, "No, I would be the guy who's hiding the Jews in my attic or smuggling them out of the country. I'd be that guy." And it's like, "No, you wouldn't.
Most
No, you
likely,
wouldn't.
no.
You wear a mask to go to protests because you're afraid of being doxxed. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? You're not hiding people who with." Where there are armed bands of men going around killing people for hiding them. You're not doing that.
Yeah, very
You
often the
like
people
to
that
think,
claim
though.
a lot of times the people that claim virtue the fastest are the ones that are the most cowardly. It's sort of to me, it's very much so. I've noticed in my experience.
It's the Dale Dribble syndrome.
Well, I don't know about that, but what I've seen is what I've seen is that basically people tend to say things to frame it in such a
Yeah.
way that because they can't demonstrate it through action. Like for instance, whenever you hear someone's like one of my guy friends, and I hear them say, "Oh, I'm a really nice guy. That's why I can't keep a girlfriend." And I'm like, "All right, well, you're psychotic. You are most likely psychotic." Or when a
Ditch
girl's
that thinking.
yeah, no, it's not even ditch that thinking. I'm like telling my girl, like the girls around me, be like, "Dude, no, that guy's nuts. Don't go near him. Seriously."
Yeah. He's
Um,
clingy as
Something's
hell.
wrong. Well, it's not even that he's clingy as hell. It's that when someone has to say something like that, it's because they can't demonstrate it. Or when a girl says, "I'm not like the other girls." Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. There's a reason you need to frame it. It's
Also,
because you can't. You talk about it because you can't be about it. You know.
avoid women who don't have any other female friends. Just a
Yes. Yes, I've noticed. I've
FYI for
noticed
the
that
guys
too.
out there.
Well, I've started taking it like as a when I talk to girls that are like, I just don't get along with other women. For me, I've started taking that as she's a
Huge
child.
red flag.
She's a child.
Huge red
Seriously.
flag.
Like it's not. I'm not trying to be rude to them or anything. Like I get it. Women can be fucking frustrating sometimes. Not to be too rude about it, but when you're a
Oh yeah.
woman, you're supposed to be able to connect with other women. If you can't, to me,
Right.
what I'm hearing is you're emotionally very immature, right? Um,
Right? Yeah, I get. I've dated more, um, and it never works out. You know, it's just
Mm.
always really weird and kind of avoid just from experience avoid those kind of
Well, yeah,
people.
they like try to be one of the guys, but they're not. So
Well, yeah. Well,
it's
and
I don't
then
know.
like they're always semi flirting with the guy. Not that they're doing it on purpose, but they're always that way. And
Right.
then I don't know. Like I think that might have something to do why they don't get along with girls. But also the guy, like you said, the guys who say that, well, I'm too nice, that's why I don't get girls. It's like, yes, avoid those guys too, ladies.
Seriously,
Um,
that guy's not the
because
guy saying that. If he has to say it, it's because he's not it.
right,
A nice
and
guy does not need like an alpha doesn't need to say he's an alpha. A nice guy doesn't need to say he's nice. Like all most of these things where if they have to frame it, they are not it.
right, exactly. And if like the whole nice guy thing is, they think that they're nice guys, but I don't know what they're really like. What do they mean by nice? Like by nice,
Exactly.
are they
That's
in
also
effect
very
like
true.
are they just do they just worship you? Because that might be great for like a week, but after a while it just comes across as clingy, and then you're not going to
Or
give them everything they want or the fulfillment that they're desiring in life, and then they're going to become resentful and then bitter, and then they're going to be angry at you, and
it
it's
also could be
just
one of the weird ones that feel like entitled, where it's like, I'm such a nice guy, I give her all these things, and the bitch doesn't blow me like 4 times a day. I don't understand.
yeah.
You were ugly anyway. I always love when I hear that one from my female friends. It's like, you were ugly anyway, and I'm like, fucking, you're making us all look like dickheads. Jesus Christ. Uh, please
Well, it's
stop.
like those are the same guys who think that all women are prostitutes because they just get different kinds of gifts for their sexual favors. Those are the worst. Those guys are the worst.
They
They
are the
think
worst.
well, you know, a prostitute's just more direct about it. But like with a woman, I have to buy dinner and I've got to, you know, pay for the movie and da da da. It's like no,
I
like
mean,
this. That's
that's
so like
it's a
cynical
very
way of looking at
well, it's
it.
not even cynical, it's childish because it's viewing the whole interaction as
Right.
the only goal here is for me to get in her pants. It's like it's not that she's a prostitute, it's that you're trying to treat her like a prostitute and it's not going well.
Right. That's what you want her to be.
It's like, look, if you want a prostitute, go get a prostitute. Like I'm not going to
Vegas is right
I,
there. It's
I'm not
legal.
judging. Like seriously, you go like it's not that hard. It's really not. Go talk to some of your friends.
Gross.
I guarantee you, someone knows a guy that knows a guy. I promise.
That's so gross.
Whatever, man. I guarantee you, it's. I don't care what kind of shit it is you're into or you're looking for, whether it's drugs or sex or any of that stuff. I guarantee you, you know someone that can help you, whether you realize it or not. Go take care of it that way if you really want to. But don't go around treating women like prostitutes and then wondering why they don't like you.
Yeah. But I'm just a nice guy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh my god. So fucking help me.
So yeah, this judge, uh, getting back to this story because it's almost 9 o'clock. So, um, she, the person, this in my notes, I don't write down how it does in the story. I don't write down illegal immigrant or migrant. I don't
Sure.
do that. I write illegal alien
Okay.
because that's what they are. That's the correct legal definition. So we got to use the. See, that's me being sensitive about the words again. Anyway, Jose Medina Perez, he has been deported twice already, and he's been barred from re-entering the country till 2027.
Hmm.
And basically, I don't know what you got through while I was away, but like basically the judge told the ICE agents to stand outside her courtroom, and then she let the guy go downstairs to get his stuff, and then hint, hint, wink, wink, let him out the back door while he's down there.
So dumb. It's like, just guys, look. See, a judge that doesn't understand that fucking Laws have a meaning. Seriously,
Well, she's the
who
one
the
who's
fuck
supposed to
elected this
be
bitch?
applying these laws.
Seriously, yeah. You can't just say no. Fucking, if you're just gonna say no, go join an activist organization, quit your job, and let someone that will actually do your job do your job. Seriously.
Right. They're supposed to be as close to impartial as they can. This is 100% violating that sort of like
Yeah,
impartiality.
judges are
So
supposed to be mostly, to the best of their ability, apolitical.
right. That's why they have lifetime appointments.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. Well, the Supreme Court
Well,
does.
yeah, I was about to say
Lower
not all
courts are
judges do.
elected, but
A lot of most judges aren't actually lifetime, but
yeah.
the most important
Well,
ones are. But yeah,
right.
either
Am I
way, they're
supposed
supposed
to
to be fucking apolitical. Either way.
things like this? Like if you allow this to happen and just be like, oh well, like she's a hero or this is 100% okay. Am I supposed to think that if I go in front of a judge, especially where I live, who's more liberal, say something happens next month while I'm wearing my MAGA hat around, and I have to go to court, are they going to treat me like a person, like any other person, or am I going to get a little like harsher treatment because they don't like Trump and they want to show how much they're resisting?
Right. We need to be able to trust our court system.
Right. I don't want to lose trust in the court system. Like, I understand there's a lot of bad things that happen. It's not perfect, but it's the best system that we got.
Yeah, if politics actively gets into it, that's bad.
Well, I kind of think like anytime politics seeps into something, it like a little bit okay here or there is fine, but like
Politics
if it
getting
just
outside
starts
of
to become politics,
it's
corruption.
Politics outside of a political entity, in my experience, is almost always damaging.
Right.
If it's like part of the organization.
I just see politics going into every aspect of life as corruption because like it's the whole like power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Well, fuck, not even our fucking like movies are safe anymore. Like, goddamn, I can't even go to see a goddamn movie without going, all right, how much of a fucking feminist shoehorn is this going to be? Like, seriously.
Right.
It doesn't even matter which movie it is. Like, Captain Marvel was pretty obviously going to be that. But most movies nowadays, I'm like, all right, how much social justice does this one have?
Right.
It's hard. It's fucking hard to ignore it at this point because it's just fucking everywhere. And unless you're a complete normie, it's really hard to ignore.
Especially with things like movies and comic books, that's art. And then when you start, when you're an artist and you do something, if the art is the most important thing, but also you do something political, that's okay. But when the politics is the most important thing and you're using your art to do something for that,
it's just propaganda.
Propaganda, yeah. It's the politics have become the preeminent importance at that point.
Well, yeah, I mean, your politics and your way it's part of how you view the world, right? That's part of it,
yeah.
And that's going to affect your art. But like you said, if it's the primary goal is to push a political agenda, that's the primary reason the art exists. Yeah, that's just naturally going to be propaganda. Focus on the art. Focus on making it good. Focus on making it, a standalone good piece that you'll be proud of in 20 years' time when all of the politics shit is no longer relevant.
Right, yeah. Those are the most, like, impactful things. Because Absolutely. They're not necessarily speaking to, like, I don't think they originally speak to something, like the good art that also has political impact doesn't necessarily speak directly to something political, because things that are political typically aren't like consistent things in the human condition. Like,
sure,
the immigration debate, like, that's gone on for a long time. It's probably going to go on for a long time more, but it's not like,
it's not going to be an eternal
debate. Right. It's not like losing a loved one is part of the human condition. Like, that's something that like everybody can feel, and and have a relationship with. But the whole
U.S.
like
immigration policy is not going to be something that someone 100 years from now is going to look at and be like, oh, I know exactly what they mean.
right, they're gonna be like, wow, this was weird, like art.
Must have been a really weird fucking time. But yeah, it's sort of
They
like
legalized marijuana at that time.
dope. Literally. Um, yeah, it's like with the whole Captain Marvel thing, because I'm trying to argue with people about that's like, no, it's not very good, guys. It's a lot of it is, look, when all the politics things goes away and you guys stop fucking rawing because it's a strong female character, and honestly, their idea of a strong female character has got to be the most sad thing I've ever seen, just because apparently what they think a strong female character is fucking invincible. Like, it can't just be an actual strong female character like Black Widow or Scarlet Witch or any of these people. It has to be like fucking Mary Sue level, completely invincible, intelligent, nothing ever goes wrong for them.
Superman. Well, half
it's like fucking ultra Superman without a kryptonite.
Superman.
Yeah, like she's fucking ridiculous. And 20 years from now, people are going to look back and they're not going to see Captain Marvel as a good movie. It's going to be a crappy movie with a weird message that no one at that point is going to understand.
Captain Marvel wasn't necessarily everybody's favorite superhero to begin with either.
Captain Marvel's not even, as it currently stands, the Captain Marvel they have isn't even really the comic book, is it? It's like an amalgam of like a few different characters.
Well, Captain Marvel was just like I like Shazam. What's that guy?
Shazam's cool.
Yeah, like Shazam is funny because it's like he's a little kid who looks like an adult, has all these like amazing superpowers, but he's just so like not necessarily like innocent, but like mischievous sometimes, and he's just a little kid. Like he makes bad choices. He doesn't think things all the way through, and it's freaking hilarious. Like I'd go see that movie. I haven't seen it yet, but it looks really good.
The thought of the fucking hero's weakness being that they're literally a little kid.
Right? They're like 8 and they've been granted all this power.
It's kind of cool. Because it kind of feels like an 8-year-old power fantasy. Where it's like, yeah, I can do all this cool stuff I want. I can go to bed whenever I want. I can have all the fucking ice cream I want. And if you got anything to say about it, you know what, bro? Fuck you. I'm going to give you a spanking.
Well, it's like when we were kids, we all kind of imagined ourselves as superheroes or something like that, you know? And it's just that come to life on the big screen, and it's like, like I totally would have thought that was hilarious.
Concept. Yeah, it's a fun concept.
Going back to your point about like the sad idea of the feminist, the strong female lead. Oftentimes, like the strong female.
I'm not saying a strong female lead is a sad idea. I'm saying
the
current feminist conception of what that means is it's got such like it's fucking reeks of an inferiority complex. It really does.
Well, yeah, a lot of that. That's a better way of saying it. I was saying it poorly, but a lot of times, it's basically just they make their strong female characters men.
Not even men. They make them like the ultimate. They make it like they take their conception of how they think men see themselves, like their characterization of a strong man and what we think it is, and they turn that into it. And it's like, no, you guys have this fucking childish version of how you think men think. It's fucking, it's stupid and it's frustrating, and
it's like the MTV version or the meme version of how men think or something, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like, not to make it too social justicey, but for anyone social justicey that does listen to this, think of it this way. I want you to imagine, fucking some white guy that lived in Hollywood his entire life, was raised by like millionaire parents. I want you to imagine him trying to state as like his conception of the worldview and put it onto the screen. You know, he's like putting this forward affirmatively, what it's like to be a black man living in the ghetto. Because he understands that. He gets it, you know, from his fucking white, rich, like, perspective. He's really going to understand what that's like. It's like, no, he's not. He's not really going to get it. He's not really going to be able to do that, especially if he's not asking people. Because it'd be one thing if you have that guy, right? You have that guy trying to make that movie. And one version of this is he doesn't ask any black people, specifically any people that came from that background. Another version of it, he has like a huge number of people that he talked to from that background to get input on it, right, to try and represent it. And now you have the other side of this where we're looking at things like Captain Marvel and like the Star Wars chick that I stopped watching Star Wars because she annoyed me.
Captain Social Justice.
The main character. No, not the Asian chick. The main character for Star Wars.
I don't know. I haven't watched Star Wars in forever since
that's it.
Original trilogy.
Ray. Okay. Yeah, Ray too, because she's not as bad. She's not as bad as Captain Marvel. So credit where credit's due. But yeah, it's like you're trying to.
He was just like, I know all of the Force now, and I can be a high-level Force master, and I've only known I'm a Jedi for 3 days.
Exactly. She's fucking moving around planets and shit. She's not literally, but anyway. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. You have this conception of how you think we think about things, and therefore that's how we would put it on here, therefore that's how you're going to put it on there. Did you ask any of the original writers? Did you ask any of the men that wrote on these scripts in the first place how they think about it, how they see things, how they would have written it? Did you ask any of them? You couldn't have. There's no way. Like, I call it complete shenanigans. There's no fucking way you asked any of these writers, any of these men, how they saw things. There's no fucking way. Because if you had, it wouldn't have turned out like this. There's no way. I refuse to believe that you actually did your due diligence and tried to get the perspective that you were trying to represent.
Right. And then I guess let's get back to finishing up this story, and then we should probably wrap up.
Are we going on too long about Captain Marvel?
No, I could go on forever, but I don't think people would like to listen. I mean, we could do a whole different video about critiquing social justice movies or something.
Sure. I was actually thinking that after this week, because I think this week I'm satisfied with just getting all the upgrades in place. But as of next week, yeah, I'm thinking about starting. I want to start taking the time to maybe have one of us, if I'm recording, probably have you do this, but basically if there's like a whole segment, maybe mark out a timestamp so that I can go back through and edit and like take out pieces so I can put it up on the YouTube channel. So that someone doesn't have to look through the entire live stream if they didn't catch it live to see the stuff we're talking about. Because I think from the outside, this live stream probably does look like we're just talking about politics, and it's just, another boring take on politics that they've probably heard a million times before.
And it'll give us an idea kind of like the videos that get more views of kind of like what people who are watching our stuff really want.
And what they're
talking about. Like, there's a bunch of right. If there's a bunch of people who watch the cut up part of us talking about how social justice-y Captain Marvel is, then we'll talk more about that stuff. But if they're more interested in us talking about Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, then
Sleepy Creepy Joe,
we'll naturally gravitate more towards that. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, but anyway, looks like most of this stuff, obstruction charges, 20 years in federal prison. The attorney thinks the prosecution is absolutely political, because of course he does. Let's see, the charges drew some criticism, particularly from the left. Shocking. Let's see, called the indictment very aggressive and completely outrageous.
All the people who you expected to say a thing said that thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Massachusetts attorney, a Democrat, also slammed the indictment as radical and politically motivated attack on our state and the independence of our courts, because of course you did. We're just going to ignore the fact that she's a criminal.
This is why the NPC meme was so great, is because they all say the same thing, whether it be Easter worshippers or this lawsuit is political. Like, there's like a memo that goes around and they're like, these are the words you have to pepper in there.
Seriously.
Do it.
Let's see. Yeah, we're talking about Jose Medina Perez. No ill will to that guy. even though he's like trying to get into the United States. No, will. I get it. United States is a cool place. I understand why he wants to be here, but
I can understand wanting to be here, but your ass has been deported twice. Take the hint.
Yeah, seriously.
The third time we should just shoot him.
No. Hold on. No. Wait. I disavow.
Disavow.
I
disavow immediately.
Immediate disavow.
No, I don't think we should go that far. It's just a funny thing to say. It's just a joke. I'm not seriously advocating in any possible seriousness that we should just start shooting people who are trying to illegally cross the border. That's
it's going to
not my opinion, but it is funny as hell to say.
I disavow. All right, Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials learned of Medina Perez's detention following his March 30th, 2018 arrest when local police submitted his fingerprints. That's how they figured out who he was, I guess. Notification, prompted ICE. Pretty self-explanatory. ICE is going to get him. How was it? Joseph directed the courtroom to be turned off 52 seconds while the discussion continued. That's not suspicious at all. The defense attorney...
They turned off the recorder. Like, come on.
Seriously. Reminded that the ICE agent was waiting outside the courtroom. The judge alleges that's fine. I'm not going to allow them to come in here. But the migrant has been released on this.
Illegal alien.
When he was escorted downstairs. Out the back door. Did they catch him? Joseph, who was prohibited, was suspended without pay. Fair enough.
Yeah, she got suspended, which is good.
That's ridiculous. You can't just choose which law. Like, honestly, there's plenty of laws that I think are stupid and, conscientious objectors, go for it. But, I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and complain if a judge, does their thing. That's their job. That is why they exist. They are there to execute laws and hand down punishments.
Well, there was another case like this where the judge let the illegal alien go, and then they went out and killed a couple people. Like, I don't remember where it happened or the exact case or anything like that, but that happened. Like, come on, like, that didn't happen here.
Is USA
as far as
Today,
I know.
Is USA Today like an alt-right publication because they're calling a Republican a moderate?
They might be.
I've
I've
never seen a lefty source call a Republican moderate. Let's see. Had called.
Let me check with that group. What is it?
Which group?
The Anti-Defamation League or
Jesus Christ.
The ASACL. I don't know. There's so many of them.
I think you're thinking of the SPLC and the ACLU.
Right Wing Watch.
Or no, ADL.
ADL, yeah, there you go. That's the one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to drag the ACLU into this. Was appointed by the judge. SIP 20. I'm really curious. Did the immigrant get caught? Let's see. False statements. Yep, violation. If the facts I'm seeing up here are true, then yeah, she obviously violated obstruction laws.
Right, it's pretty clear.
It's pretty obvious. Said Medina was caught about a month after leaving the Newton courthouse and is being processed for deportation. Thank you.
He had a whole nother month of freedom,
Good
drug
job.
dealing.
Fucking, you ruined your career so that he could have a month. I hope it was worth it.
Right.
Leiling, who was leading the Justice Department far-flung investigation. None of this seems to be related. Yeah, basically, she fucked up. That's what I'm understanding from this.
Yeah. Yeah, she pretty much just screwed up, and now she's getting her just desserts.
Oh, shit. USA Today has a crossword puzzle? That's kind of cool.
No way, man.
What? I like crosswords.
I'm so bad at crossword puzzles.
I'm lame. What do you want? Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say here. I won't even say follow the law. It's more along the lines of, if your entire job is take people that broke the law and help law enforcement, get them to the appropriate, like maybe they didn't do it, let them go, okay. But if he's an illegal immigrant, he obviously did it by definition.
Well, he already committed a crime, I guess. Well, I think there is a distinction to be made here between federal and state law.
Sure.
But I think that if there's a conflict, federal law is the one you're supposed to follow as opposed to
Supremacy.
state law.
It's the supremacy clause.
The supremacy clause, which I don't know how that works with like marijuana because it's legal in Oregon and Colorado, but not federally.
Well, it's one of those things. Like, remember how the Portland police are basically saying they can't hire police officers because everyone's high. That's the supremacy clause coming into effect. It's one of those things where the feds, if they wanted to, could crack down on all of these states and say, no, this is not legal. Stop. They're just kind of letting it go, and the Fed's not saying anything. It's on like this the sort of thing. Well, like, the supremacy clause is kind of like trademark law. Use it or lose it.
Well, I guess if there's because the problem I think that they were running into, at least with marijuana, is that they were growing so much that they ran out. The market's too small. They're making more than they could sell, I guess. And so if it goes across state lines, then that becomes federal jurisdiction. And so that's a federal crime.
Right.
And so if you move it, even if you're moving it from Oregon to Colorado, where it's legal in both states,
sure,
you still have to go through Idaho to get there. And so you broke a law by doing that.
Gotcha. That sucks.
Yeah, because then because it's illegal federally, and even at like where I work, they said, marijuana is legal, but if something happens and you take a drug test and you have marijuana in your system, you're still out the door. You won't stay around.
Yeah.
So
that sucks.
Yeah, I don't smoke anyway, so I wasn't too worried about it.
Fair enough.
I don't care if people do. I don't want them to do it at work or come to work high, but
well, most people don't.
Yeah,
most people are pretty responsible in my experience when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah, I look at it kind of like guns, where like 98% of people are super responsible with it, but then you get the 2% of people who are just complete idiots and kind of give everybody else a bad name.
Yeah, you get the jackasses that create the stereotype, like the stoner walking down the street. Like, hey, man, you want to, like, I kind of want a cheeseburger, man.
Where's 7-Eleven, man? I need nachos. I don't mind those guys.
If that were all right now.
if that's all that was, that would be like, fuck, bring it on, man. That's sweet. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's some of the harder drugs I'm like opposed to, but
yeah, no. Honestly, if all the drugs were like weed, I don't think anyone would actually give a shit in the first place. But yeah,
right. They create like larger external problems. But anyway, that's a topic for another video.
Yeah. All right. I think we're safe to go ahead and end it here. I didn't set up an end end streaming button. Okay, that is something I need to have.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh man, the stream's got to go on forever.
No,
it's the stream that.
Either that, or they're gonna have to see the fucking the back end on OBS with the infinite regression of streams.
Well, I think at like 10 hours it just stops. So just gotta tough it out for another 8.
Okay. I mean, we can still talk about stuff. I mean, like we can talk about drugs now.
Yeah. What drugs have we done? It's alcohol's really it's not really that interesting.
No, I'm joking.
We did have a business owner live streaming.
I smoked 3 crocodiles 2 seconds ago.
There was he said this is the side of Portland people don't talk about, and I'm like, well, you're not talking to the right people, but okay, keep going. And he showed a live video of all these like just needles, like used needles all over his patio, because it's like a bar restaurant area.
Sure.
Just used needles all over his patio, like sleeping bags, like just stuff dropped. Like they actually stabbed the needles into his patio, like into the railing and stuff, just all over the place. And he's up now, and he could poke himself and get infected with something, or it's just, yeah, don't do drugs.
Yeah, seriously.
Don't do drugs. Take your vitamins. Do your homework. Listen to your parents.
That's right.
Hulkamania will come for you.
Never smoke a marijuana in your life. You'll die immediately.
Have you ever watched Reefer Madness?
Yes.
That's the best movie.
Oh, God. Dude,
it's the best comedy I've ever seen.
Dude, Reefer Madness is fucking fantastic. I swear to God, they must have seriously thought that marijuana and bath salts were like the same shit.
Well, it's like you were saying earlier, the director who's never experienced any sort of poverty and tries to do a movie about a poor black guy.
Uh-huh.
It's the same thing. They're like, they've never smoked pot, and all they know is like this.
What's it like to be a
terrible
stoner?
things, and they made the movie on it.
Dude, I can't. There's stereotypes. They seem to be mixing up like 10 different stereotypes for 10 different drugs. I'm like, what the fuck is happening in this entire movie? We should start telling people, like, hey, who do that sort of like social justice to art stuff, like comic books and everything. Mm-hmm.
Your art in like 10 to 20 years will just be like Reefer Madness.
Seriously, yeah. That's
actually
actually not a bad
comparison. People will just look
comparison.
back at it and be like, oh shit, that's funny.
Dude, especially the fucking postmodern shit where you have like feminists that are like crapping out eggs out of their vaginas and with the fucking onto
barf.
Yeah, seriously. Into like pieces of paper to make a message about periods or something.
Or they use their own period blood to
Probably.
paint portraits. I've seen that video before.
That sounds like something they would do, yeah.
All right, before hopefully nobody was eating, but I'm hungry, so.
Oh, did the period blood really get your appetite up?
Oh man, I need a nice steak now.
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
Gross.
God, no.
No, but it is like 9:30 and I haven't eaten dinner yet, so.
Gotcha.
Thank you guys for watching, for tuning in, and I think we'll do Fridays. We'll let you know if we change it again. Hope you guys like the new layout. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening later on YouTube. Be sure to share and like and tell all your friends, and because the more people we can get listening to this, the better we can make things and the better job we can do for everybody. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.